The plot. Tatsumi is a fighter who, accompanied by his two childhood friends Seo and Ieyasu, sets off to the capital in search of a way to make money to assist his poverty-stricken village. After being separated from his friends, Tatsumi not only fails to enlist in the army, but is swindled out of all his money by a beautiful woman named Leone. He is then taken by a noble family who offer him help, but intend to torture and kill him, just like they did Seiyu and Ieyasu, and dozens of other people. Tatsumi is rescued by a group of assassins known as Night Raid, and is invited, more like forced, to join their ranks. Said group is composed of swordswoman Akame, a young woman armed with a huge pair of scissors named Shio. You thought that I was going to say boobs, huh? The string manipulator Labak, the armed warrior Bulat, the sniper Mine, the beast fighter Leone, and their leader Najenda, a former general of the Imperial Army. Night Raid is also part of the Revolutionary Forces, assembled to overthrow Prime Minister Honest, who manipulates the child emperor for his and his men's personal gain, leading the rest of the nation to poverty and strife. Each member of Night Raid carries a tegu, weapons created via alchemy and parts of the supernatural danger beast over 900 years ago. 48 of these items were created, and about half of them have been lost to history. These items range from weapons like swords and firearms to more utilitarian items, including a cosmetic box and armor, and even organic beings such as shape-shifting dog and a powerful warrior. The Imperial arms cannot be used by just anyone, as their users must be compatible with them or risk death. The power of most Imperial arms is so overwhelming that it is said that when two Imperial arm users fight each other, one is bound to die. So that's the plot. Now the characters. The characters in this show, a good majority of them are either dumb, wasted, or forgettable. So let's start in the beginning, where Tatsumi gets played by Leone out of all his money. He's got nowhere to go. He's in the street, moping about the fact that he has no money and how he has no place to sleep. I would think that he would be trained along with his friends to survive in the streets or the woods, especially since they fight monsters, being able to turn a tough situation into a positive. He's sitting in the street, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this girl shows up, offers him to come back to her house because he thinks that she is just this innocent angel who wants to help him out and give him a place to stay and a place to sleep for the night. I don't care who you are or how fancy and innocent you may look. I'm not going back to your place. I'm not getting in your car or your chariot or chariot. This was an extreme example of why you shouldn't talk to strangers, and let alone go back to their house. Him and his friends are morons. You're in a city that you are oblivious to. You don't know anyone. They weren't trained on not trusting random people that they just met. Because hey, if you go over to someone's house and show no awareness of where you are, that person and that person's family could turn out to be psychotic fucking murderers. Now the forgettables. Leone, big titty, blonde white girl, fan service, didn't too much care for her. Mine, she's the annoying little character who likes to disrespect and annoy the main character, Tatsumi. You would think it would be Akame, because the show is called Akame Ga Kill, but no, it's called Tatsumi Ga Kill, basically. Small sniper girl, great shooter, didn't care for her. Bulat, gay dude, used to be a soldier for the capital. He's not on this list because he's gay. Energetic guy he's the only one that puts forth an effort to be nice to Tatsumi in the beginning. Trains with him, tries to help him become stronger, wants him to call him bro. Didn't too much care for him. Shield, I liked her backstory. It was kind of interesting. But another big titty girl, didn't care. Najenda, the leader for the most part, she gives orders and speeches to her team. You'll see her be vulnerable at times. She also used to be alongside Esdeath in the capital. Didn't care for her either. Tatsumi, one of the most irrelevant main characters of all time. Nothing about him really stands out to me, except for the fact that he gets emotionally attached to everyone really quickly. He becomes comfortable with killing pretty quickly. In Lubok, or Lubok, typical anime guy who loves to be a creep and spy on girls who are taking a bath. I did like how he was able to win all of his fights using his Imperial arm weapon, displaying how much of an expert he is at using his wires or his strings. Still another forgettable character. A lot of these characters sucked, even a lot of the antagonists. Now, I did enjoy some of the characters. I'm not trying to shit on the whole cast here, even though I'm shitting on like 95% of the cast. I like Kurome, Akame's sister, Akame as Death, even though she was wasted. And I thought Wave was cool. He had some good morals. And that's about it. The Wasted as Death. The show built her up as this terrifying, powerful general. She was, out of all the characters that had Imperial arms, she had the best one. She had ice powers. She could wield it whenever she wanted to. Death got her powers by drinking this blood or this juice, instead of having her be this demonstrative character that I thought at some point in the show she would end up taking over the capital somehow. Start trying to take over the world because she believes in the strong feeding on the weak. I figured that would be the route this character would take. No, the creators have her become infatuated with love, have her become infatuated with Tatsumi for whatever reason. When this tournament took place, she takes him away after Tatsumi wins, back to her place. I didn't hate it. I was thinking, okay, she is a psychotic bitch who loves torturing people. She's used to being on top and getting anything that she wants. At some point, Tatsumi will refuse her, and then they will become enemies. That never happened. She was so fixated on Tatsumi, trying to force this love connection with him. Even when she found out that he was with Night Raid, and to combat Night Raid, she formed a little group called the Jaegers. She still wanted to be with him after she found out that he was a Night Raid member. At the end of the show, when Akame kills her, she lays next to Tatsumi, imprisons herself next to Tatsumi's corpse, disappears along with the rest of her ice. Just a wasted character. She could have been a popular villain. Maybe she is a popular villain, but for the wrong reason. She's pretty, and of course she has big tits. I'm not against big titties, it's just anime in general just has to have these heavy-chested women. It's like, godly, I'm not a horny 12-year-old. Okay, you can cover them up. They don't always have to show cleavage. Cleavage. Akame. The show is called Akame Got Killed, right? Let me check. Yep, it's Akame Got Killed. So why does it feel like it's Tatsumi Got Killed? The show is focused on Tatsumi, how he becomes stronger, how he grows a connection with his comrades. Akame is just on the back burner. She feels irrelevant. Whenever she does have some screen time, it's enjoyable to watch. She's a little naive, which makes the interactions between her and her friends entertaining. Her backstory with her sister, Kurome, how they were separated when they were little. Once they were reunited, they couldn't stay away from each other. They trained as assassins for the capital. They were murderers for the capital. Then Akame left. Kurome felt betrayed because she felt as if she had turned her back on her and the comrades that they fought alongside with. Also the ones that died in battle. When Akame got the spotlight, that was when the show was at its best, but they wasted Akame. And last but not least, I gotta touch on the fights. If I had seen this anime when it first came out, I would have thought the fights in this show would have been some of the best shit ever. But since I've seen shows like Mob Psycho 100, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Scissor 7, and Attack on Titan, just to name a few off the top of my head, I expect the fights I watch in anime now to be high quality. I'm so over the whole screenshot effects to where a character is coming at another character with a sword, and once the attack is complete, you'll hear a slash and then it'll go to this screenshot effect. You don't see the blade actually go through the opponent the character is fighting. It's just slash screenshot, you know, punch screenshot. By the way, the best fights of the show was when Akame was involved. Akame versus the dude with the spectator imperial arm to where he could read people's minds. When she fought her sister, the final battle between her and Death. My overall rating for the show is a 5 out of 10. Despite the negatives, it was still an okay show. It was eh. The pacing of the show feels rushed. That's probably because of the amount of characters that die. Going into the show, I thought there would be 2 characters that would die. Bulat died, and then I think Shield died after him. And so I was like, okay, well, that proves my expectations that I had coming into the show. But then freaking, I can't remember the order, but Mine dies, Lubak dies, brought in 2 new recruits, Susanoo dies, Chelsea dies. It was like these characters just kept getting killed off. And it got to a point to where is the entire group of Night Raid going to get murdered in a battle? And not only that, the antagonists of the show got killed off. These 3 guys dressed in black. One of them used to be Bulat's leader when they were at the Capitol. I thought he would have a big role in the show, but he dies in the first episode that he appears in, alongside his 2 cronies. Esdeath forms a team called the Jaegers to combat Night Raid, the guy who shoots fire at people, that was known for executing people. Didn't too much care for him. He gets killed. His name was Bowles, by the way. Dr. Stylish, didn't care for him. This girl named Siriu Ubiquitos, her commander gets killed by Night Raid, and then she goes on a mission to go after Night Raid to avenge her fallen leader. But she's a psycho bitch who murders anyone that does the smallest crime. She was kind of entertaining to watch. This guy named Run, didn't too much care for him, but he lives. Yeah, it's just the deaths in the show, it didn't really mean anything because there was no proper build. Like when someone gets invested in a character, there's something about that character that they like or that they can relate to. None of the characters were really relatable. Their personalities were bleh. So whenever they died, it was just like, okay, who's gonna die next? Is this show gonna kill off the entire cast that's in this show? Another issue with the show was the connections, particularly the romantic connection. As I mentioned, Esdeath fell in love with Tatsumi, but then all the other females in Night Raid had a thing for Tatsumi. This girl named Chelsea, who was a new recruit. She had only knew Tatsumi for about a week or 2, and all of a sudden she's developing feelings for Tatsumi. And when she dies, the last thing on her mind was Tatsumi. Wouldn't it be her former group that she was with? Because she mentioned that her friends got murdered. So wouldn't her final thoughts be her longtime comrades? Leone had a thing for Tatsumi. Shio had a thing for Tatsumi. When she gets killed, the last thing on her mind was seeing Tatsumi smile. And then Tatsumi was so upset about it. Why? Because she held him when he was crying about his 2 longtime friends. He's reacting as if he knew her for years, as if she was one of his childhood friends. And everybody else, when Mai gets killed, she kisses Tatsumi before she passes away. But at first they were bickering at each other, going at each other's throats, and then they're sitting in this desert or this dirt field, and this monk or this priest comes out of nowhere, tells them that they're destined to be husband and wife, basically, and now all of a sudden they're growing feelings for one another. They're looking at each other platonically. The dialogue between the characters are dry. I mean, it has that corny ass typical anime dialogue. I'll never make you sad, Akame. I'll always be here for you. I will protect my friends, that type of bullshit. It's just dry, The personalities, no one really captured me. None of the personalities in the show really stood out. Given the fact that I liked Akame, and I'm not going to say no one, I did like Akame, but it's just probably because, I'm saying that because she was so irrelevant in the show. That's why I feel that way, but it's like no one just stood out. No one caught my attention. I didn't come away from the show saying, okay, that's my favorite character. I like that character. I like that character. The characters were really bleh. All right, Daibo, we got it. You think the characters were shitty, and the pacing of the show felt rushed. The connections felt forced. It's just a mess of a show now that I'm talking about it. Although the enemies, like every single enemy though, was just an absolute psychotic piece of shit. Whether they just enjoyed tormenting people and murdering people because they were bored, they just loved doing it, or they did it out of anger or jealousy, or it was their job to murder people. I guess that's because Night Raid, even though they were murderers, it's not like they enjoyed it. Except for Shield. So I'm thinking the creators of the show wanted to make the villains absolutely heinous and evil, so that when they do die, you won't really feel too bad for the antagonist, and feel as if Night Raid shouldn't feel guilty about what they do. Those are my thoughts on the show. It was a disappointing show. I mean, disappointing in the sense of I had high expectations for it, and it just kind of fell flat on its face. So please like and subscribe. That is it. I am out.